It's Flag Day. Colby and I are going to plant our flags in 5 Mariners each, claiming them as our guys for the 2024 season coming up here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Friday, March 22nd, 2024. This is Signing Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Subscribe, like, and turn on alerts if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe and leave a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform if you like what you hear. And if you're part of the crew and rock with us every single day, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to hear from us even more, please consider signing up for our Patreon. You can now get a free 7-day trial to check out the show. The link, as well as our social accounts, is in the description of this episode. It is Flag Day here on Locked On M's. I believe this is our third time doing this on the show. Might be the second, whatever. If you're new around here or just don't know what Flag Day is, Colby's going to tell you all about it. Colby?
Oh, sure. Make Colby do all the work.
That's right.
So Flag Day is a very simple premise. We all have players that we tend to claim some sort of ownership stake in every year. We're like, oh, that's my guy. Like that. I liked him more than you. Ha ha ha. Like that type of thing. So Flag Day is just the day where you declare pretty much your love for a player that the other person has to respect.
That's right.
And bow
back
down
off,
whenever.
Colby. This is
Sure,
my
this is-
guy.
This is my man type of thing here. So yeah, it's Flag Day. It's the my guy game, like whatever. Well, I think pretty much every fan does this. They just glom onto a couple guys that they really like, and they kind of stake their reputation on it. And if you want to know how good we are at this, last year I believe our picks were Robbie Ray, Jared Kelnick, Teoscar Hernandez.
Colton Wong might have been in there.
Yeah, he might have been. We kind of blocked it out, so who knows, really.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah,
basically what we're saying to the 10 guys we're going to mention over the next 30 or so minutes.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
We're sorry. But yeah, there are some rules this year because as we discussed last year, there was a Julio clause because Julio is everybody's guy.
That's
he's
right.
he's not eligible for this. But we did add a couple more because the seasons they had last year and where they're at in their careers, it just doesn't feel right to have one
too
of us.
Obvious, too easy, too boring for you guys. We're here to create
we're
content.
All claiming
folks.
Julio, right?
Yeah.
Julio belongs to all of us, but there are a couple more. So Ty, why don't you tell the people who are not eligible, who is not eligible for this list?
All right. So Julio, of course, JP Crawford, we're also putting in here, Cal Raleigh, Luis Castillo, and George Kirby. So 5 guys, 5 exceptions, and everyone else free game. So let's get underway here. Colby, who's your first guy?
Well, Ty, as you know, I am a man of the people, but I'm also a little bit of a contrarian. So
you're not a sheep.
That is right.
Mm-hmm.
That is right. I am the shepherd. Sounds kind of culty, doesn't it?
Yes,
yeah. So anyways, I am a man of the people, but I also like to try and educate the people. And when I see the people falling all over themselves for Dominic Canzone, I can't help but look at that and go, where's the love for Luke Raley? Luke Raley has infinitely more success at the major league level than Dom Canzone has. It's not remotely close. So why are we as a community sitting here and crowning Dominic Canzone as the Jared Kelnick that never was when he hasn't done anything at the major league level with any consistency to warrant that buy-in? So while you people want Dominic Canzone to be on this flag list, and he's probably on Ty's flag list because he's an uncreative little, it's not going to happen here, not from my side, because I will stand Luke Raley and we will see who is right at the end of the year. I don't care that he's hitting up, not even $150. I don't care that he's hitting 50 in spring training this year. I don't care that he had a 93 WRC plus at the end of, at the second half last year. I care that this is a guy who does everything Dominic Canzone can do and more because he can play some defense and steal some bags. That's the guy I'm going to plant my flag in. So you can have Dominic Canzone. I don't want him. I'm taking the better version of Dominic Canzone, the one that everybody's overlooking, the one that everybody's panicking about. And I'm taking Luke Raley as my first flag guy this year.
I will take your Dom Canzone and give him to the comment section because I'm not picking Dom Canzone. I'm picking Bryce Miller for my first guy here.
Yeah, I figured you should.
Who I also picked last year, by the way. Would
did
like
you?
to let the
Nice.
record show. Yeah.
Nice.
I got a little too aggressive with my prediction on him. We won't rehash it though. But he still had a pretty good year.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
he still had a really good rookie year. I think he's going to build upon that. And I'm going to bet that for the sake of this exercise, that the splitter is real, that the splitter is a legit weapon that's going to help him elevate his game. And he's going to have a similar, not the same, but a similar step forward to what Logan Gilbert had last year.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Logan Gilbert because he's on my flag list this year. This is the best player who will be on my list.
I assumed as much. I didn't even include him on my possibilities list because I was like, he's going to take Logan Gilbert.
I mean, like one of us was going to, so it's just a matter of who did it first because I think we're both on the same page here. Logan Gilbert is primed for a breakout season. We saw the splitter really take off last year, and that became his primary, secondary pitch. We know that he gets good value out of the fastball, not quite as elite of a pitch as it used to be, but still he's going to get value out of the fastball. Then it kind of comes down to what do the breaking balls do? Like what does the slider do? He's been toying around with a cutter. We'll see how often he uses that as well. Gilbert is a mad scientist in a way for pitchers. It's not enough to say that he tinkers because Jared Kelenic tinkers. It doesn't mean it works just because you make some slight changes here and there. But Gilbert gets in the lab. He's big into pitch FX. He's big into the data of his pitches. He's big into studying hitters and how they react to his pitches. Like Logan Gilbert is, a professor. He does the research. He's a scientist. He looks at what hitters do against him. He looks at how he can best impact those hitters, how he can change things, how he can tweak things. We know he's going to throw a ton of strikes. We know that the swing and miss stuff is there. And we know that Gilbert hasn't reached his ceiling yet. He's been very good his first 2 full seasons in the majors, but he's got another step left to take. He is a plus 1900, I believe, for Cy Young odds right now. That's pretty good odds if you can get it. I think Gilbert could have a 5-6 win season in him, and that could happen this year. This guy's only 27 years old, still in his prime. He's still tweaking. He's still, refining his pitch mix. If he can get back some of the value he's lost on the fastball over the last year, he could be a legitimate, low end number one, even a cheap, I guess we'll call it cheap ace for a lot of teams. So I think this is the year Gilbert kind of explodes. And I think this is a year where I think a lot of baseball sees, the Mariners as having a 3-headed monster at the rotation, but it's always like Castillo, Kirby, and then Gilbert's pretty good too. I think this is the year where Gilbert, kind of claims his rightful place in that trio.
Gets the respect he deserves.
Right. Is mentioned not just as, kind of the third guy in the 3-headed monster mix, but solidly a foundational player for the Seattle Mariners.
So why did he not make our exception list?
Good question. Because he has not had an all-star season yet. I mean, now JP and Cal have never been on an all-star team, but they've had all-star seasons last year.
They're fan favorites,
right,
etc. Yeah.
Right. So, I think when you kind of look at this, you go, who are the 5 most popular players on the Mariners? It's probably the 5 guys that we excluded from this list. I think Logan's probably 6th. So he's close, but I think after this year, he won't be eligible for this list again. So yeah, I think this is Gilbert's true breakout year. All those other guys have kind of had their breakout year, and Gilbert has stayed consistently good, but hasn't quite creeped into the great category. And I think those other guys have creeped into the great category for their positions.
So my second flag player is going to be Jorge Polanco.
Okay.
I don't know if you were considering him or not.
No, I mean, he's on the list, but a lot of guys are.
Yeah.
In case there was overlap.
So yeah, I have like 8 or 9 guys just in case, because if it wasn't made clear, he and I can't pick the same guy. Right. So Polanco has been hitting the ball over the park this spring. And he, to me, I think is going to give the Mariners something that they haven't really had since Robinson Cano was traded. They got a pretty good season at second base out of Dylan Moore in 2020, and that's about it in terms of second base production since Cano's departure. Polanco is an all-star caliber hitter. I am a little concerned about the defense, but we won't focus on that today. He can hit from both sides of the plate very well at an above average clip. He can provide above average power output from second base, which you're not getting a lot of power output from most guys that play that position. He hit 33 home runs just a couple of years ago. If he's able to stay on the field, three and a half win season, I think is certainly not out of the question for Jorge Polanco this season. So
Nice.
done our first two guys. We got three more coming up each in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Ibotta and FanDuel. For many people, the new year means resolutions to save money. So stop shopping without getting anything in return. Start getting cash back on every purchase you make with Ibotta. Ibotta is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to toys. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $145 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, buy that flight you've been eyeing, that game you're dying to go to, or the fancy dinner you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, just add your offers in the app, upload your receipt, and get real cash that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Join the over 50 million savers and earn cash back every time you shop from over 2,700 brands and retailers, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. Right now, Ibata is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibata by using the promo code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibata app to start earning cash back and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Say goodbye to busted brackets, because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourney. Whether you're betting on a big upset or a one seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon, that's LOCKDON, and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you again for making us your first listen. And just a reminder that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube and Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. By the way, yesterday, a lot of you really enjoyed the barbecue talk. So we asked our patrons the other day for barbecue recommendations in Washington or just the Seattle area. I'll ask you guys, leave us some barbecue recommendations down in the comments below. It doesn't really apply to me because I don't live in the area. But hey, maybe Colby will take you up on a recommendation or two. So let's get back into our flag players here, Colby. Who's your number 3 flag player?
Okay, first of all, I want to specify these are not ranked in any order. Okay,
Right.
these are just guys I like. But I don't think this will come as a surprise to anybody here. I've spent most of the spring talking up Josh Rojas as a guy who seems to have figured something out since he's joined the Mariners. And I think part of that is just kind of this idea that Mariner fans have that, like, oh, Rojas is just a dude. Like, he's just kind of another body. And I don't think people understand how good this guy was in Arizona. Was he your traditional third baseman who was going to hit 30 bombs? No. But this guy who got on base, he hit for some average, played pretty good defense, hit some doubles. He came over to Seattle last year, and he was one of the best second basemen in baseball, according to outs above average, despite only playing second base for the Seattle Mariners last year for 2 months. He can field his position. He was perfect in stolen base attempts last year. He also came over and he turned into what looks like to me legitimate 18 to 22 home run power from the left side that's going to play very well at T-Mobile Park. Josh Rojas is a guy who's not getting enough respect in general. He's coming off of a down year that's pretty easily explained by a major issue that he had, an injury that he had in the middle of it. He came over and he really was a significant player for Seattle, especially in August, and he was fine in September. I think this is a guy who a lot of people kind of just, he's also, he's just he's part of a platoon, and he's not the one that people are talking about at all. And I just, have to wonder, like, this guy's got a 110 WRC plus season under his belt. He's got a 3-win season under his belt. Like, this dude has been an everyday player in the past, and now he's part of a platoon. He's kind of your Marwin Gonzalez. You move him around, and people aren't jacked about that. In fact, they're like,
Yeah.
well, maybe you could trade him to save some salary. We'll just dump Josh Rojas. Like, what are you talking about? Dude's good. He's a good Major League Baseball player. You have him for what, $3 million this year? Steal. Like, this guy is a legitimate good baseball player. If you have to play him every day, that's fine. He can do that. I think he's in for a pretty good season this year. I would not be shocked if he's on a 20 home run pace. Kind of depends on what his partner at third base does. Kind of see how they divvy up playing time. But to me, I think that Rojas, we'll see what the actual counting stats are, but I think his pace will be 20 home runs, and I think it'll be about 20 stolen bases as well, plus really good defense at second base and third base.
Well, speaking of his partner over at third base, I'm taking Luis Urias. So I already picked him as my breakout player. You guys know the deal. You know what I like about Urias. You know my thoughts on his past year and all that stuff. I think last year is an outlier. The guy's 26 years old. He's a former top prospect. He already has two win seasons under his belt. Has shown the ability to hit 20 plus home runs in a season. I think he's going to get back on track. I think the bat is going to play. Little concerned about the defense and how the shoulder is going to impact the defense over the course of the year, and we'll see if that heals over time or not. But I think the bat, at the very least, is going to be a valuable asset to the Mariners over the course of the year. I believe in Luis Urias getting back on track for sure. So, number 4 for you, Colby.
Interesting how we've kind of done a 180 on the Urias front.
Right. Yeah.
For the record, I also really like Urias. So
Yeah.
it just Ty has kind of picked up that flag, literally, over the last about month, I would say. Ty has kind of morphed himself into the Luis Urias guy. So
I part of me also just wants Mariners Twitter to get proven wrong. Very bad.
That's like half of my list.
Yeah. I'm just rooting against Mariners Twitter mostly here.
I mean, if you're not doing that, by the way, you're missing out. It's awesome.
Right.
So number 4 on my list, I'm going to go with Brian Wu. You took Bryce Miller. I'll take his other rookie counterpart, Brian Wu.
Love it.
It is a delivery that is as smooth as Tennessee whiskey, fastball that is as sweet as strawberry wine. And I think he's going to take a step forward. He throws strikes. We know that he gets insane value out of his fastballs. So the question is, does he have something to help him against left-handed hitters? We haven't seen it yet, but just because he didn't add a new pitch doesn't mean that he didn't find a way to attack lefties. So be it a pitch mix thing, maybe he refined a pitch he already had. Maybe it's just location of the fastball when he goes up against lefties. I think he's going to figure it out. He's a smart dude. He is a pretty polished pitcher despite not having a ton of pitching experience. I mean, really since what? He was a sophomore in college.
Yeah.
The delivery again, it's so smooth, it's so effortless. The fastball just jumps out of his hand. It's 2 elite fastballs. Like, they're no kidding here. Brian Wu might have the second best fastball in baseball. The only one I can think of it's clearly better than Brian Wu's is Spencer Strider. So could Brian Wu be this year's Spencer Strider? Probably not. Strider also has a really nasty slider, which Wu hasn't shown yet. Flashed a pretty good cutter, though. He's flashed a good breaking ball, flashed a good changeup. So it's just a matter of, can he put one of those pitches together with his 4-seam and his 2-seam? I'm going to say yes, and I think Brian Wu is a guy who we'll have to see how they handle him. They're probably going to short script him once in a while. They're probably going to have to skip a start because, again, like I said, while he looks incredibly polished and it looks like he's been pitching for 15 years, he really doesn't have a ton of work in his craft over the last 4 or 5 years, just in terms of innings pitched. Like, you kind of still have to take it slow with him. Blew through his career high in innings pitched last year. I don't think they're going to ask him to add another 60 innings like he did last year to his career high. So we'll have to wait and see kind of how they maneuver it. They might skip a start here. They might, short script him. Maybe they piggyback him with, Tyson Miller or somebody like that. But I believe in Brian Wu. I think Wu is going to find a way to manage lefties to where his domination against righties and his serviceableness against lefties will combine to make for a really, really good starting pitcher. I would not be shocked at all if Brian Wu had a 4-win season this year.
I like it. You know, Wu is another guy on my list, and I have quite a few names to potentially call here at number 4, and I'm going to tell you who I'm going to pick in just a moment. But first, a reminder: this episode of the Locked On Mariners
80
podcast
grade teas.
is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV as soon as possible. Fire TV also recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us here at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels lets you dive into all the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all the latest in the world of sports, from March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, and cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. And if you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit amazon.com/lockedonfiretv. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you again for making us your first listen here on Flag Day. We've gone through, well, Colby's picked 4 guys so far to plant his flag in. I've picked 3. And now it's time for my number 4. And that number 4 is going to be Mitch Garver.
Oh, on my list too. Okay, nice. I will say this: he did not crack my top 5. I think my number 5 will delight a lot of people. So
for context, right before we started doing this third segment, Colby was like, "You're gonna pick Mitch Haniger, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, probably." And he's like, "Well, you better." So there you go. So Mitch Garver, really love the signing. The more time that has passed since the signing has happened, the more that I like it, especially once we've started to see some of these other deals that guys have signed. You know, some of these DH types have signed. Really love the fit for Garver in Seattle, right in the middle of this lineup. Look, this is a guy that hit in the heart of the World Series champions order. He was the cleanup hitter for the Texas Rangers in the World Series. Literally one of the best offenses we've seen in quite some time. This guy was hitting right in the heart of that order. Like, Mitch Garver can really hit. Obviously, the big question mark, though, is can he stay healthy? Because he just hasn't been able to, just like his Mitch counterpart, Haniger, right? But I think that the fact that they're not going to catch him, it seems like that has been made pretty clear by the Mariners organization that only in emergency Mitch Garver is going to catch. By just DHing him, I think they are going to be able to keep him healthy. I think he's going to play a career high in games this year. And I think he's going to hit a ton of home runs and a ton of doubles. And he's going to finally give this Mariners lineup kind of that, I know people look at JP as this guy or Jorge Polanco as this guy. I think Mitch Garver is actually truly the Robin to Julio's Batman. And we're going to see that play out over the course of this season.
Nice. Very nice. So, yeah, Garver was on my list too. But now we've reached the end, and we will have a few honorable mentions here at the end because we do have some time for those. But Ty, it's time to put some respect on this player's name. Not only is he a good base runner,
I know exactly who this is.
Does he hit home runs?
I'm so glad you did this. I'm so glad you did this.
Third best outfield, but for 3 of the last 4 years, he has been an above average hitter at the plate. Yes, he strikes out, but yes, he hits home runs, clutch home runs, I might add. He steals bases. He takes walks. He is who he is. He is the utility man. He is the one, the only Dylan Moore.
Let's go!
Player, 2024 Seattle Mariners. Demo. That's right. I'm back on the bandwagon.
I'm so glad
I was one of the earliest adopters of Demo, and then he burned me in 2021. But I'm back. I'm all in. Dylan Moore, awesome. He is going to be in a position where he only has to face lefties. He's going to be in a position where he comes off the bench to steal bags. He is going to be put finally in a spot where he doesn't have to be anything that he's not. He's going to strike out. live with it. He's also going to draw walks. He's going to hit dingers. He's going to hit the ball hard. He's going to play really good defense at like 5 spots, and he's going to steal 20 bags. Accept it. Move on. Yes, the swing is hideous. Doesn't matter. Dylan Moore, flag player 2024. That's right. I'm back on the bandwagon, baby. Get on or shut up.
The heel turn. Amazing. I love it. I love it. I'm so glad you did this. I was hoping, praying that you were going to do this at some point today.
Interesting.
Truly a man of the people. Truly giving the people what they want.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to follow that up because I can't follow it up. It's impossible. But I have quite a few names here. The rest of these guys.
One of them.
Sure.
Tyson Miller.
No. Tyson Miller did not make the cut. You know what?
The opening day roster either, apparently.
I'm trying to decide because, we're going to mention some guys as honorable mentions, but they didn't make the cut, so technically we cannot consider them our guys, right? We didn't plant our flag in them.
Sure.
So who do I want to give this last spot to? It's down to 2 guys. I'm gonna go
Mitch.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Mitch Haniger.
Yeah.
I can't not do it. I can't not do it. Mitch is awesome, right? And
Mitch
I hope
is crazy.
And like I talked about yesterday, and yeah, while I took the under on the plate appearances and all that, I really hope that Mitch is able to stay healthy because when Mitch is part of this team, it's so much fun. I love Mitch Haniger. I was so excited when I got that text that was like Mitch Haniger is back and all that. Like I couldn't believe it. That day was so much fun.
We knew about an hour and a half before you guys that was happening, and that was really hard not to just start sharing clips and whatnot.
Yeah, I was losing my mind. I was losing my mind, like absolutely losing my mind about that. Mitch is the best, the absolute best, and he's having an insane spring right now. Man, if he can actually carry that, just a little bit of that into the regular season, you have an actual valuable bet. Dude, we know exactly what a good Mitch Haniger looks like. And it's not that long ago that we saw what that looks like. It's hard to think that it's only been 1 season since he was last in a Mariners uniform. It feels like a longer time than that. But it's very possible that you can still get a very good Mitch Haniger if he's able to stay healthy. And the fact that he's like kind of right now your 4th outfielder, I think is great because you can kind of afford right now with the way that the roster is built to kind of look at him as a bonus, whatever you get out of him as a bonus. And you know what? Screw it. I'm going to say that you are going to get that bonus. You are going to reap the rewards of Mitch Haniger and actually get value out of dumping Robbie Ray's contract and get a pretty good bat, somewhere in the 6 to 8 range of your lineup. That's the other thing too, right? Like Mitch Haniger, even a good Mitch Haniger in this lineup, unless a lot of things go wrong in the top half, it's probably hitting towards the bottom half of your lineup, which think about just, a year and a half ago, Mitch was hitting what, 4, 5 in your lineup. Again, now he's probably going to be hitting 6, 7, or 8, and probably to start the season 8. And Mitch is just awesome, man. So yeah, Mitch is my 5th flag player.
Mo Mitch's Mo problem for the AL West.
That's right. Also, yeah, I couldn't pick one Mitch and not the other Mitch, like on the flag team, right? My flag team.
There's
or
no
whatever.
Side Mitches here.
Right. Yeah. No side Mitches. Just
I just got 2 main Mitches.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That was a better way to word it than how I was going to attempt to do that. Anywho, yeah.
King of the puns.
Yeah. Thank you for stepping in and saving me from that. Anywho, honorable mentions. Who did not make your list that you did consider?
Well, really probably no surprises here. Cade Marlowe is certainly a guy that